Okay, so Naruto and Sasuke versus Jigen. This fight was really good. And I said this in my prior video, right? Like the manga did not do this fight justice. And it is, acceptable because it's only a few panels, right? In one chapter. I think it spanned over what, 2 chapters. So this anime adaptation really brought it through. And I'm so happy, guys, because this fight was really good. Like, this is what I talk about, right? When I'm on Twitter talking about this fight, it's not about if they lost or the fact that they lost. It's about how they fought, right? It has always been about that, and I think this rings true for most anime fans who watch the Naruto series. It's about how they fought, how they strategized, and how they brought through their combos and so on. So this animation really served and really brought through that Naruto and Sasuke are still good fighters even in the Boruto series, and this is what I'm looking for. So we're just gonna review the episode and talk about the things that I wanted to really harp on in this episode. So firstly, the animation was amazing. Now, I would have preferred the animation they used in the Garo fight with Kawaki. I don't know, I kind of like it. It looks good, right? It makes the characters look more mature, but this animation was really good as well. Like, you have different types of animation, obviously, and everyone has their preference, but this one was really good. It was smooth. Like, everything was just perfect with this episode. I think the best scene in this episode is when Jigen punched Naruto out of the Kurama avatar, and you saw the head, like the head of the Kurama avatar just burst, and Naruto flew up into the air, and it looks so real, right? The animation is so clean and smooth that you saw Naruto, he's falling out of the sky, you see the wind blowing in the breeze and his hair just moving fluidly in the breeze. It's just amazing, guys. And Naruto's reaction, like, this is so cool because taking these hits, you have to say, like, how are these characters just taking these hits, right? In the manga, it seems as if when they got a hit, they took a while to recover, but in the animation, right, it looks different. We saw Naruto take that hit, we thought he was knocked out, it looked as if he was playing to trick Jigen, then he just quickly recovered, then spammed the Rasengan, Jigen tried to absorb, Sasuke came in swinging, and when Naruto fell, he was smiling. It seems as if Naruto was taking these hits like they were nothing, that at least while he was in KCM, right? And what I've realized from this fight is that, and I think most of us knew this from earlier on if we really paid attention to Shippuden. It's kind of different when you have Naruto and Sasuke paired together, like you have them fighting each other. I think this kind of difference kind of goes out of the window for plot sake. But Naruto is way more durable than Sasuke. Naruto is taking these hits, right? Getting up, just taking them like one after the other. Taking the same hits as Sasuke and the damages, and we saw that in the last half when they both got stabbed by the rods and pinned to the ground. Sasuke isn't really that durable, right? He can take some hits, but you can really see over the course of the fight that the hits and the damages are really getting to Sasuke. Naruto, on the other hand, is okay, like he's fine, just talking normally. He has a reaction to the hits initially, but he recovers super fast, and that can be attributed to his Uzumaki lineage, his insane stamina, his insane regenerative abilities, coupled with the Nine Tails chakra. So Naruto is really durable, and it shows in this fight. Jigen, on the other hand, man, that dude is a beast. That dude is a beast, and it was expected, obviously. Like, this dude is stronger than Naruto and Sasuke, based on the fact that this dude is not necessarily just because he's an Otsutsuki, because obviously making you being an Otsutsuki doesn't mean that you're automatically stronger. It's the fact that this dude is amped on 10 Tails chakra, coupled with being one of the stronger Otsutsukis, right? So this dude is one of the stronger Otsutskis, coupled with 10 Tails chakra. That's just mind-boggling, right? It's what you'd expect from this fight, especially in the manga as well. That's why I say no one really has a problem with them losing, right? I've been saying this, and everyone comes with the strawman argument. You guys always want Naruto and Sasuke to be the strongest and win their fights. That's never been the argument. The argument is that we want to see them use their abilities in a strategic way. We got to see that in this fight. one specific scene that showed this. Like, I don't remember this being in the manga, right? This is when Naruto Sasuke, it is in the manga where Sasuke showed Naruto where Jigen was, and Naruto turned around with the giant Rasengan. But in the manga, this is not exactly what happened. By my recollection, Jigen automatically shrunk it or absorbed it in the manga, right, or moved. So it wasn't a case where Naruto pinned the Jigen down. That didn't happen in the manga, to my recollection, right? So Naruto pinning Jigen down with the giant Rasengan, it shows that they're thinking, right? Not because someone has the ability to absorb ninjutsu doesn't mean that you can't use ninjutsu, right? I've been saying this, and it's the same thing we saw with the Urashiki fight, the Momoshiki fight, right? We saw it with Kaguya. Not because someone has the ability to absorb ninjutsu doesn't mean that you automatically say, okay, they can't use ninjutsu based attacks. That's just stupid and lazy, right? And what I loved with Studio Pierrot here is that they understood this, right? Even more so than the Ikimoto in the manga, right? He used this Rasengan on Jigen, which forced Jigen to absorb it. But what Jigen didn't realize is that Naruto has an immense amount of chakra, so Naruto can keep pushing this chakra. It's the same thing he did with Delta, right? But with Jigen, he was shrunken, so Jigen was inside the Rasengan trying to absorb it. But him being in the Rasengan and trying to absorb it means that he can't move at the same time. So Sasuke had the chance to go and maybe cut him in half or something. That is what I'm talking about. Using these abilities in a way where you can get creative, right, and trap the opponent. We saw it with Momoshiki where Naruto threw the Rasen Shuriken, and Momoshiki thought it was a real Rasen Shuriken and it transformed into Sasuke. These are the things that we're talking about, right? Using these abilities to their full capacity, using your strategic mind, and this is the thing that was missing from the manga. Naruto and Sasuke's strategic capabilities, their ability to work together. That's what was missing from the fight in the manga, and I think most of us pointed that out. So it's good to see that the animators listened. Obviously they listened, and they came back and they kind of showed some stuff, not all, but some stuff, which is good. I think I spoke about this already, but the other part in the fight where they got the drop on him, which this is really cool, right? Because I think in the manga, maybe I got this wrong, when they did this kind of combo, Jigen was in his version 1 state of the karma. He didn't have the horn, right? But in the animated version, he already has the horn, right? So they got the drop on him after he went into his all-powerful version. So it's good to see that they can come up with a plan on the fly, right? Just push and come up with a plan on the fly, even when they're getting beat, right? Even when they're getting beat, they can just say, okay, Naruto, you know how I work, right? Sasuke can just say to Naruto, Naruto, and Naruto knows what Sasuke is going to do. He doesn't need to spell it out for him, right? This is what I'm talking about, this teamwork, right? And it's a lot better than they were in their teen years, of course, because they still had, some kind of, animosity against each other. Even though they knew each other's abilities, they weren't so refined. But as we saw in the Momoshiki fight and in this fight, like these two is like they're connected. And they know what each other is thinking, right? Which is good, and I like to see it. One thing I'll say is that yes, they did go better in this fight. Like they did show that Naruto and Sasuke has the capability, and they weren't necessarily dog walked like they were in the manga, right? So that is good, because that would have been a problem, because we know what these characters are capable of, right? And it wasn't what was shown in the manga. So the animation really came through for Naruto and Sasuke, and also showed Jigen's power at the same time, right? As I've been saying, you don't have to go one way, you can go both, right? These characters can lose, but they don't need to lose so drastically, right? And I think Ikimoto kind of went too hard in that direction to kind of bolster Jigen, and you don't necessarily need to do that, right? You still need to remain consistent and make fans believe that this is supposed to happen, right? That's how you get it done the right way. Problem I have though is that they didn't really use all their capabilities, which is understandable. No character really uses all of their capabilities in any fight. We see this in Naruto Shippuden as well. Naruto didn't go all out against Sasuke in the last battle. Sasuke also didn't use all his powers. We also see in Kaguya's fight, Naruto didn't use all his powers, and every fight you can pick and choose and say this character didn't use all their powers, so is this character really stronger than them? So that's a good way to look at that argument. But what I'd like to say is that we didn't see Naruto use boil release, which could have really, you know, boosted his power, you know, his durability, his strength, his speed. We saw him use it against Kaguya, and he slapped her across the field. Like, they went head to head and he won that, to show that he was at that point stronger than Kaguya with the short boost he got from boil release added on top of his State of Six Paths mode. And that's a different topic I don't want to go into, State of Six Paths mode, but let's, for the sake of argument, say that he's using it right here, and you know, adding that boil release on that power should really, you know, give him that speed and strength that he needs to really be more effective against Jigen. Not win, but be more effective. Another thing someone brought up is Sasuke using Kirin. Right, that could have been possible. I thought we saw some, you know, thunder clouds here and there, some clouds in Jigen's direct dimension, but they could be something else, because again, it's another dimension. They might not be clouds, they might be something different. So Jigen is an iffy one, but yeah, it would have been effective against Jigen, because again, Jigen cannot absorb non-based attacks. So Kirin being natural lightning from the sky, he wouldn't be able to absorb it. But again, he could easily shrink the jutsu or teleport, so it's not really that much of an argument. But it's a good way to say that okay, he could have done this the same way Kashin Koji used the real fire, and killed, you know, Jigen. So yeah, Jigen was actually weaker, slower at that point, so you can understand why he would get caught by Kashin Koji. But you know, getting caught by Sasuke here would have been a little more difficult. One major thing I wish they had changed from the manga, and you know, or maybe expounded on in, you know, the anime, is Naruto not being able to sense Jigen when he shrunk. That has been a point of contention in the fandom for a very long time, right? Naruto having State of Six Paths mode, being able to sense Madara's limbo clones that were on or in another dimension, another plane of reality. He's able to fight them effectively, know exactly where they are. It's like he's able to see them without, you know, seeing them. So he's able to see characters that are in another dimension, right? Just in regular Sage mode, right? When Naruto entered the battlefield, he was able to sense where everyone was, right? And when he first unlocked the base KCM, he was thought to be able to sense negative emotions and know to pinpoint the exact location of where that emotion is coming from, which is how he was able to differentiate the real people from the white Zetsu, right? So Naruto's sensory abilities have been kind of nerfed in this fight. As we saw in the beginning, Naruto didn't even sense that Sasuke was coming. He wasn't able to sense that Jigen was above him, even when Jigen transformed back into his original size. So Naruto not being able to sense anything at all is kind of weird, seeing that they really harped on him being the greatest sensory ninja of all time in Naruto Shippuden, even greater than Madara. This is literally stated, so it's really weird, and I wish they had, you know, addressed it somehow. One explanation I saw on Twitter, which I think is the best explanation, is you know those cubes that Jigen used or Ishiki used in their second fight against Naruto and Sasuke, and they were stated to block sensory abilities. One user commented and said, I made a post, and one user commented and said that it's possible that Jigen had those cubes with him, but they were shrunken to a smaller size, so Naruto and Sasuke couldn't see them, so they were there just disrupting their sensory abilities. So it's kind of a reach, because they were never shown, so it's kind of really a cop-out for the animation, or the animators, or the writers really. So it's really a cop-out, but it's the best explanation you can ever get for why Naruto was not able to sense him, right? So I think that's what we're gonna go with, because again, we have to go with something or it would be a plot hole. And I think if they had just come out and say this, everyone would be okay, fine, move on. But if we have to really theorize and say that okay, this is possible, and then, you know, that's when it becomes a problem. Someone said the rods themselves block sensory abilities. That was never stated, so that's inaccurate. So yeah, I think we're gonna go with Naruto the cubes being there and Naruto not seeing them because they're shrunken, which is why Naruto's sensory abilities were disrupted. All in all, this fight was really good. Naruto used his shadow clones. Again, shadow clones have never really been effective in any fight. We saw this in Pain, they just got demolished, of course. We saw this in Kaguya, they got demolished. With Sasuke, they got demolished. The shadow clones really, even with Toneri, they got demolished. So shadow clones really are just used by Naruto for diversion purposes. Whenever he uses like a multitude of shadow clones or goes over 100, they're just there for diversion purposes, nothing more. Whenever he uses like 2 or 3, you know that shit's about to go down, because you know that when he uses the least amount of shadow clones he uses, the stronger they are, and he can create like Kage level shadow clones on his level. So when he creates multiple shadow clones, it's just really for the diversion purposes. And I don't really remember what Sasuke said. Maybe he told Naruto to use it, but the thing is that I watched this fight on Crunchyroll, right? And the funny thing with Crunchyroll is, for some reason, the English subtitles were just bugging. Like, even when sometimes they just don't show at all, and sometimes like they talk, you see the characters speak, and then like a minute, I'm literally saying like a minute afterwards, the words are just coming up. So it's not like it's a delay with seconds or like 5 seconds, so it's like 30 seconds to a minute before the actual words come up, right? And that's just crazy. So it's possible that Sasuke said, okay, while I'm hurt here and trying to recover, just use some shadow clones for diversion, and let us see how he fights so we can assess his battle style, right? And I think that's exactly what Sasuke did here. And it's really, I don't know, I really like this fight. It's not the best fight in the entire Naruto franchise, but it's a really good fight, and it's up there, right? It was short as expected, it was short in the manga, so it's really good. It's really good. One thing I really wish though is that we saw Sasuke use the other abilities of the Rinnegan, like Almighty Push, Almighty Pull. Like when Jigen is rushing towards him, he could have just used Almighty Push on him, right? He doesn't really need to use his arms, just his eyes. So that was a little bit weird. But it could have been a case where Jigen would have just powered through it, right? But the thing with Almighty Push is that it disables your defenses, right? So it literally just disables your defenses. That's an ability of Almighty Push. So it's not just regular air just pushing your way. It disables your defenses. So it would have been neat to see how he reacts to that. Maybe he shrinks. I don't know how that would have helped him. Maybe he teleports inside it. I mean, we as the audience, we think about a lot of things these characters wouldn't necessarily do, right? You know, someone talked about why didn't Jigen just push the rods in Sasuke's head? Like, why did he have to charge towards him? And that's a good point. Why didn't he just materialize a rod in Sasuke's head? That would have been an insta-kill, right? Why didn't Sasuke switch places with Jigen's head? Like, these out of the box things, like, you'll never see them actually happen in anime, but they're actually legit things that real people would do in a real situation, right? But you're not going to see those easy kills happen in any anime at all. It's just not going to happen. But we as the audience can say, okay, you could have done this and you could have done that, right? So yeah, all in all, this fight was good. This video is kind of long, so I'm going to cut it off right now. I gotta say, hats off to Studio Periat. They did an amazing job, and it was as expected, right? I said this in my video. They need to come balling with this episode, right? They need to come balling and make a lot of things make sense, and make the fight a little less one-sided, and they did that, and that's good. So hats off to them, hats off to the writers as well, and yeah, just hats off to Boruto in general. It's trending on Twitter right now, which is always good. And next up we have Team 7 versus Boru, I believe. So that shit's gonna be amazing. Hopefully it's just as well animated as this fight, or maybe 65 or 189, who knows. We shall see. Maybe they'll use the 189 animation for the Boruto characters, right? Like the new gen characters. Maybe that's what they're doing, and saving the 65 level animation for the older gen so you can differentiate. That's possibly what they're going to do, so we shall see. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. If you liked the video, drop a like. If you're new to the channel, hit subscribe and ring that notification bell to be notified when I post new content. But above all else, have a good day.